Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Ange Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Fantasy Football Week 12 running back rankings. So for today's episode, the schedule goes as such. I'm going to start off by talking about the Rams versus Chiefs Monday Night Football slobber knocker, the highest scoring Monday Night Football game in NFL history, the third highest scoring game of all time. Then I'm going to go and talk about the matchups at the running back position, who has the most advantageous matchups and who's going to be really up against it this coming week going into week 12 of the fantasy football season. Then at the end of the video, I will be going through my 1 through 36 running back rankings for week 12. There are timestamps below, so for those of you who are looking for specific players, they're always down there. Just a reminder. Other than that, I just want to thank all of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel and continue to support. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button for more content. And if you have any questions, go down below in the comment section. I will get to you as soon as I possibly can. But if you have any time-related constraining questions, perhaps for a game on Thursday, you want to know who to start specifically, and I haven't gone over it yet, you can go to my Twitter, @Kirchhoff, shoot me over a message, give me a follow, and I will get back to you pretty quickly, to be honest. Now, let's go ahead. Hey, everybody going? How's everybody doing? Okay, so we're going to talk about the Rams versus Chiefs game right out the gate, okay? I honestly thought about making a video yesterday after the game just to talk about it, but I lost my voice because I was yelling so damn much because by all means, Patrick Mahomes, oh my goodness, the Chiefs offense, they're so damn good. They started that game with probably the most penalties I've ever seen in a single first quarter in my entire life. Then to follow that up, they turned the ball over, like 5 times and still almost won this game because the Rams and Sean McVay really they didn't want to win it sometimes. But statistically, when it comes to the fantasy perspective, right, that's why you're here. You're here to talk about fantasy football. Here's some knowledge. In my opinion, and I'm sure you've heard this from many other people, I'm sure many of you are of this opinion, this may be the greatest fantasy football game that has ever existed. You know, having scored 105 total points between the two teams, statistically, this is the best fantasy football game I've ever seen. It was a Monday night game. Many of you, and I guarantee you, many of you either lost because you were up by like 70, you were sitting comfortable, you were thinking there's no way Patrick Mahomes and, Gerald Everett can come and catch me. And they did. And many of us were very upset. Many of us won by half of a point. Many of us lost by half of a point. And that game, it was just all the marbles were on the line. Many of us trying to get into the playoffs. Some of us saved our seasons with last night's performances. It's one of those games that are going to go down in fantasy history, in my opinion. Just to go over some of the stats. Patrick Mahomes, let's start with the Chiefs, right? 6 touchdown passes, 478 passing yards. You got to be kidding me. We knew it was going to be a high-scoring game, right? When you set the over-under, when Vegas sets the over-under at 64.5 points, we know it's going to be a high-scoring game. But nobody guessed 105. I'm sure somebody out there was like, this is going to be a 100-point game. Easy. It's insane. Patrick Mahomes was slinging it. Yes, he made some mistakes. It's okay. It happens. It's life. But fantasy-wise, guys, he was incredible. 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Had about, 48 fantasy points. It's just insane. And then talking about the other guy in the backfield, Kareem Hunt, he was okay. I think they could have used him more, but to be honest, they didn't have as much time. The game script kind of turned away from the running back position. And 14 rushes for 70 yards, was involved in the passing game with 3 receptions for 41 yards and a touchdown. Fantasy-wise, he had a good game, Obviously could have been better, but we'll take it. Because to be honest, this entire team, it was all dictated on passing the ball. And that's who showed up. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, 10 receptions each. Tyreek Hill with 215 receiving yards. 2 touchdowns. Oh, my God. You got to be kidding me. You know what's actually insane? Tyreek Hill, after this season, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. It's like, bar none, he's going to be, like, total points, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver. So I'm already thinking about next season. Where is he going to be drafted? I'm calling it in PPRs, end of the first round, early second, he's going to go off the board. Travis Kelce, 10 receptions, 127 yards, and a receiving touchdown. Had a couple drop passes. He could have saved some people some leagues, but dropped a couple slants. Chris Conley. Yes, Chris Conley. Sammy Watkins came in, was injured. He was hobbling. Came in as a distraction. Chris Conley had the best game of his entire career. 7 catches for 74 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, just statistically, this team, oh my goodness. Just that alone is just insane. Not to mention the other side of the football. The Los Angeles Rams have Jared Goff for 413 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. I mean, he himself was incredible. 5 total touchdowns. Oh my goodness. Todd Gurley sustained an injury early to his ankle. Really wasn't used as much as he could have been. He was in the game in the second half, but really wasn't called upon. His number wasn't really called. That at the end of the game, where the Rams had gotten the ball back after the first of the 2 late game interceptions that Patrick Mahomes had thrown, for some reason, okay, don't get me wrong, the offensive play calling of Sean McVay, it's amazing, okay? But sometimes perhaps he overthinks it. Why are you running? Okay, so let's say, for example, that play action pass that they did on first down, threw it to Robert Woods that motioned back underneath the formation. That's a good play. He just happened to run out of bounds. Okay, no big deal. Second down, let's run the ball. No, they run it again to the other side to Higbee, incompletion. Okay, now that they haven't wasted a timeout, we've got to figure it out. Screen pass gets snuffed, and you see the Kansas City Chiefs are getting the ball back via punt with a timeout remaining. Like, that's a nightmare. I was losing my mind. And many of you Todd Gurley owners who should have had more points yesterday, you didn't because he got injured and the game kind of went away from the game script. Really, honestly, went away from him. Talking about receivers for the Los Angeles Rams. 8 catches, 107 yards, Brandon Cooks. Great game. That's his 3rd game in a row. 3rd performance in a row that is just, it's looking upward. And he's going to be fantastic the rest of the season, especially with Cooper Kupp gone. But in replacement of Cooper Kupp, we had Josh Reynolds. 6 receptions, 80 yards and a touchdown. Could have had 2 touchdowns if he kept his big-ass toe in the end zone and dragged that thing. Gosh, I mean, Josh Reynolds, I'm glad I picked him up. Glad I started him yesterday. Hopefully, those of you who did not miss out on it, picked him up, played him this last week. Robert Woods, just as good. 4 catches, 72 yards and a touchdown. I mean, Tyler Higbee, 6 catches, 63 yards, contributing. Gerald Everett, 3 catches, 2 for touchdowns, tiptoeing into the end zone for 49 yards. Todd Gurley had a little bit of, contribution in the passing game with 3 receptions for 39 yards. I mean, fantasy point-wise. And then you talk about the defenses. The Rams defense had like 25 points yesterday. Why? The 2 touchdowns, the 3 interceptions, the 2 forced fumbles, the sacks after sacks. I mean, I don't care how many points you score. When you're getting touchdowns and turnovers, it's incredible. Anyway, just my take on this game. Incredible game. Just off of watching that, I can already tell neither of these teams are winning the Super Bowl. You cannot win a Super Bowl with this kind of a defense. You know, if you're giving up 50 points, it's really not great. But the thing to take, another thing to take away from this game that I specifically kind of, it's unfortunate, but I think if this game was played in Kansas City, Rams would have definitely lost this game. I think the home turf advantage, obviously that's the make or break in the playoffs. That's why these teams are fighting for these W's late into the season. They want home field advantage all the way through into the Super Bowl. So the Chiefs, there are only 2 losses to the Patriots and to the Rams. If they had played both those games at home, they could technically be 11-0 right now. And I would honestly argue that they probably would be at this point. So that's just keep that in mind. This team is way better at home, I'm telling you. And just wait till they tear apart everybody in the AFC once they get that home field advantage. All right, anyway, so let's go ahead. Let's move on. Let's talk about the running backs for this coming week. Again, subscribe, Reno. Okay, all right. Hey, everybody. All right, we got through that. Okay, so let's talk about the running back position, the running back matchups. Again, this is going to be a shorter video, so I'm not going to be here for an hour because I'm going to do the quarterback rankings right after this, just so I can get everybody up to date. So let's just kind of go through this pretty quickly. Who's got the best matchups at the running back position this week? As we can tell on our screen, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Atlanta Falcons, the Arizona Cardinals, those three teams, they've given up almost 27, 29, and 29 and a half fantasy points and half-point PPR every single game. Those three teams are not on bye weeks, but the Chiefs and the Rams are. So who plays against Cincinnati? Nick Chubb. Who plays against Atlanta? Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. Who plays against the Cardinals? Melvin Gordon. Expect those guys to feast. Who plays against the Miami Dolphins? Marlon Mack should have a great week. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who plays against them? It's the 49ers and Matt Breida. Who plays against the Cleveland? This is the entire thing. If your running back is in the green, there is a very good likelihood that they are going to score a lot of fantasy points, because as soon as the teams get ready, they watch the film, they realize, hey, these guys can't stop the run. Let's just run it down their throat. Let's take the air out of the football. Let's kill some clock, and let's just murder these fools. And that's exactly what they do. So if you're playing into a green matchup, by all means, play those players this coming week. I'm not afraid of yellow matchups either. Let's say, for example, you see the New York Giants, they're giving up the 11th most points to the running back position. In fact, the last 3 weeks, against Adrian Peterson, Matt Breida, and Peyton Barber, they've given up 100 yards each to each of those running backs. In fact, Adrian Peterson almost had 150 yards. I think he had 149 at the end of that game. And all of them had touchdowns. So when you're playing, the last 3 weeks, when you're playing against the Giants defense, due to the absence of Damon Harrison, the nose guard, this defensive line, this front seven, they're a shell of themselves at this point. And who's coming into town? The pissed off Eagles and Josh Adams. Just wait for that. That's going to be an ass whooping. Moving on. What other, these other like yellow teams down in the middle that give up decent amount of points, they're all vulnerable to an extent. So I don't mind playing these guys. Obviously, you'll get my opinions on the guys playing in those matchups, but otherwise, let's move on. Let's talk about the guys that are the teams that are giving up the least amount of points to the running back position. We saw the Bears, okay? The Bears defensive line on Sunday Night Football. Hopefully you guys watched that game, because there was one thing that really stood out to me. And it also stood out to me in last night's game, right? The interior offensive and defensive line in last night's game, Chris Jones tore apart Sullivan. The center for the Rams got annihilated by Chris Jones all game long. And on Sunday Night Football, Akeem Hicks, if I'm not mistaken, is it Akeem Hicks? Let me confirm this. Is it? Akeem Hicks, the interior defensive lineman for the Bears. He was destroying and causing havoc in that backfield. The center for the Vikings could not block him to save his life. I'm telling you, the Bears defense, they are no damn joke. They're stopping everybody. Other than that, the Baltimore Ravens, they shut down, what's his name? Joe Mixon, which was expected, right? It's a tough matchup, and it's really not going to be fun. Moving on, the Jacksonville Jaguars, still good against the run to an extent. They didn't let James Conner do anything, but that was just a game script issue. New Orleans Saints are still looking good defensively up front. Steelers good. Cowboys great. Always the Cowboys. Panthers, Washington Redskins. Anyway, so here's the thing. We'll go over it in the rankings, but some of these, you still have to play your players, right? Okay, the Washington Redskins, they give up the 23rd fewest, right? Okay, great. I'm still starting Ezekiel Elliott. Without a doubt in my damn mind, he is playing this week, and he's going to have a good week. Again, on top of that, who's playing against the Tennessee Titans? I think it's no, I'm not talking about Lamar Miller. No. We're not talking about Lamar Miller. Let's talk about, the Steelers. Who plays against the Steelers? If I'm not mistaken, it's the Broncos. Phillip Lindsay coming off a fantastic week. He's going to do it again. He's going to have another good week. Yes, he might not score twice, but the way he runs, you have to start him every week. He's an animal. Anyway, so let's just move on. We ain't got that much time. Let's talk about the rankings for Week 12 at the running back position. as I mentioned before last week, rankings are subject to change. Yes, that is change, everybody. So let's go over these rankings really quickly. I don't think there's much to argue when it comes to this. I mean, Alvin Kamara is number one, in my opinion, this coming week. Playing against the Falcons is going to have a fantastic matchup and opportunity. We've seen the last two teams, Ezekiel Elliott and Nick Chubb from the Cowboys and the Browns. The last two teams that have played against the Falcons, the running backs have been tearing them apart. And I think Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, they're going to have a fantastic week themselves. Alvin Kamara is my number one. Moving on, number two, as I mentioned before, Melvin Gordon playing against the Cardinals, giving up a bunch of points to the running back position, half-point PPR. If I'm not mistaken, it's the fourth most points to the running back position. Again, these are guys that you're going to start every single week, so there's no point in harping about them any more than we have to. Number three, Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, so here is the question. Is Ezekiel Elliott, is there an issue with playing him this week? The last time he played against the Redskins, really didn't have a great time. Honestly, I think the Cowboys, they have a little bit of momentum. Their offense has opened up a little bit more. They're more dynamic than they were in weeks past. And the fact of the matter is, Ezekiel Elliott has just never looked better this season. He's back to his old ways, 20 points a game. He's my number three this week. I have the utmost confidence. Number four, Saquon Barkley. The last time I said Saquon Barkley versus the Eagles was a bad idea, dude had a career game, almost had, 100 receiving and rushing yards in the same game. I mean, just an animal. So, yes, there's a good opportunity that the Eagles defense might tighten up on him, but Saquon's just way too talented. Number five, we have Leonard Fournette playing against the Bills defense. We know the Bills defense can get after, right? But Leonard Fournette is the judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to the Jaguars offense. He is the Jaguars offense. There is nobody else that even comes close to him. Just watching his performances week after week and the fantasy points that he puts up, I mean, we know why we drafted him so high. And thank goodness, better late than never, he showed up, and he's having a great season as of right now, the last couple of weeks. He's my number five. Number six, we have Christian McCaffrey. This coming week, he really is the number one option within this team. I think against the Seahawks, who struggled a little bit against Aaron Jones in the passing game last week, if that's the case and you're struggling against Aaron Jones, there's a good chance you might struggle against Christian McCaffrey. I like McCaffrey in this matchup. He really is the number one option for this offense, especially since they got rid of C.J. Anderson. They are fully into feeding this man the ball 20-plus times a game. I like him this coming week in this matchup. He's my number six. Number seven, like I mentioned before, the Bengals are giving up the second most points to the running back position, half-point PPR. Therefore, Nick Chubb, who he's coming off of a bye week, but then before is coming off a 200 total yard game, he's going to be able to feast this week. I expect him to have a very big game. He's my number seven this coming week. Number eight, we have James Conner, who's coming off of two bad performances, one because of game script and concussion protocol issues. This past week was purely off of game script. He did not run the ball well, and when he was given the opportunity, he wasn't able to explode out of the backfield and really make much of it. And as soon as the Steelers got down in the game, really it took them a while to dig themselves out of it through the passing game, in which they did finally, which didn't really leave much room for James Conner to produce or be able to contribute. Therefore, he didn't have a really great week, but I think this coming week he'll have his bounce back against the Broncos defense. Moving on, number nine, Aaron Jones. I mean, of all the running backs that are absolutely, the last couple weeks he's been incredible, right? They're finally using him to the extent that we want him to be used. He's getting the touches. He's getting that red zone opportunity. He's getting passing opportunities out of the backfield, multiple targets. He's just been on fire. He's my number nine for sure. Number 10, we have David Johnson, who's been another guy coming on strong as of late. That is really the underlying theme here. Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, David Johnson, Mark Ingram. These guys are coming on strong as of late, and they're just going to continue to be successful. They're continuing to be used within their offense. They're given a lot of opportunity, and I think going forward, especially in these matchups, they'll find some good success. Number 11, we have Mark Ingram. Now, potentially, Mark Ingram could end up the number one running back this week. It's 100% possible. The Saints come out and they just barrel down this defense and they feed Mark Ingram the ball 25 times. It can absolutely happen. But I feel like, Alvin Kamara has taken the backseat as of the last couple of weeks when it comes to this backfield. Yes, he's still getting a bunch of opportunities, but they're balancing it out. And eventually Mark Ingram, he's not going to have every single goal line carry. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm still fully confident. He has to start this week, guys. He has to start without a doubt. He's my number 11. Number 12, James White. Welcome back, James White. So in a PPR, James White's a monster. Even though Sony Michel's back, who we have a little bit lower on the list, I still have a lot of confidence in James White. The thing that I noticed a lot, actually, when I was watching that Titans versus Patriots game, James White did not get any usage in that game, even though they were down a lot. Usage, obviously you would expect, okay, James White, he's been one of the number one wide receivers all season long for the Patriots. You would expect, okay, we're down. We're going to need a little bit of a check down work. We need to feed James White in order to at least get some first downs here and there. It didn't really happen. James White in that game had what? Let's see here. 5 receptions for 31 yards. I want to see 10 receptions. That's what we're accustomed to at this point. Hopefully that'll eventually come back. I think there's a good chance against the Jets defense, who has just been not great at all, and the Jets team that's just not great. I think the Patriots are going to be able to beat down on them, and I like James White number 12 this coming week. Number 13, Phillip Lindsay, playing against the Steelers defense. As I mentioned earlier, it's a tougher matchup. Objectively, it is a tougher matchup. They are good against the running back position. That being said, Phillip Lindsay is an animal. He has been on fire as of late. He has to play for your team, especially if those of you who are lucky enough to have picked him up this season. The dude is balling out ever so much. Even though Royce Freeman comes in and jacks a touchdown, doesn't matter. There's more for Phillip Lindsay no matter what. He continues to produce. And this is a run-first team without a doubt, so they'll continue to hand him off the ball. Number 14, we have Josh Adams. Like I've mentioned before, the Giants in the last 3 games have given up 100 yards apiece to the starting running backs of the opposing teams. Josh Adams this past week was the lone shining light of the Eagles offense. This coming week against the Giants, I'm telling you, breakout game. This is it, people. If you own Josh Adams, you throw him in your flex, you're welcome. He's going to have a fantastic week. Number 15, we have Joe Mixon against the Browns defense. Mixon's going to be fine. Yes, he had a tough matchup this past week. He'll redeem himself. I think there is a very good opportunity that he's able to at least reestablish himself within the running game to a point that it's not 12 carries for 12 yards. It's going to be a lot better. I'm thinking like 12 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Moving on, we have Marlon Mack, number 16, playing against the Miami defense that gives up a buttload of points to the running back position. Last time we saw the Miami defense, Aaron Jones was having a field day of 30 points. I think Marlon Mack could eventually or potentially elevate himself to that. We've seen Marlon Mack have 30-point games this season, but just to be safe, his lowest potential is at around 16. His upside could be up around top 5 this coming week. Just depends how much Andrew Luck wants to throw the ball. All right, moving on. Number 17, Matt Breida, playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, it's another team that gives up a bunch of points. This week's, when I've been going over my head in the rankings, when I'm trying to compile this, running backs have really good matchups this week. Everybody's off on bye week except for the Rams and the Chiefs. No big deal. Everybody is full go. If you own Chiefs or Rams players, congratulations. You have more wins than everybody. Just go and lose a game this week, please. Right? But for those of us who have been waiting for this, everybody's full go. This is where you got to make that last playoff push. Matt Breida this coming week, coming off of a bye week, hopefully he's healthy. Last time we saw him was fantastic on Thursday Night Football, or was it Thursday night? Yeah, against the Giants. Excuse me. This coming week, I like the matchup, and he should be great. Number 18, we have Sony Michel. Like I mentioned before, I think the Jets are going to get annihilated. And Sony Michel and James White, they're going to both be used. They're both going to have some success this coming week. And I think they're going to be both fantasy relevant without a doubt. They're going to put up a lot of points on these Jets. I'm letting you know right now. So Sony Michel, start him up this coming week. He has to be healthy. He's coming off of a bye for all means. All right, number 19, we have Tevin Coleman. Okay, here's the problem with Tevin Coleman. He only put up 10 points in half-point PPR last week, but he had some good runs. And the fact of the matter is, the Falcons, they really they just didn't have much of an option to really use him. They were behind majority. I mean, they weren't behind majority of the game, but the game was very defensively influenced. The Cowboys defense was looking good. The Falcons defense, first time in a while, was looking really good. They've locked down teams from the NFC East, and they looked good against the Cowboys. But then the Cowboys were also able to shut down Tevin Coleman. They really just didn't give him the ball enough in the passing game, which I thought that he would be able to thrive and at least find more fantasy value. This coming week against the Saints, everybody, all hands on deck. This is a shootout. If the Saints end up blowing out the Falcons, I'm not surprised. But the Falcons are not a team that is going to roll over and just let them score a boatload of points. They're going to have to use all of their possible options because they're really trying to make a playoff push. If they can win out, they can make the playoffs. So they're going to have to try to go through the Saints to get there. I like Tevin Coleman this week to an extent. Number 20, Dalvin Cook did not have a great game. I mean, got murderized, but there you go. This is exactly what should have happened to Kerryon Johnson. 2 weeks ago, I was like, guys, Kerryon Johnson is going to get murdered by the Bears defensive front. They're too good. The Lions offensive line blows, and he is just going to get cooked on. Next thing you know, Kerryon Johnson puts 17 points up, and then everyone's like, Andrew, you blow. You can't even make a good call. Blah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Go ahead. Just rain it on. Just see what happens to Dalvin Cook. Everybody waits. Everyone plays Dalvin Cook. Dude gets annihilated because that's what's supposed to happen. There are outliers here and there where guys will go insane against good defenses, a.k.a. Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott tearing apart the Eagles' defense. Kerryon Johnson ripping apart the Bears' defense. Stuff like that shouldn't happen so easily, but it does sometimes, and it kind of gives us false hope. Dalvin Cook should have a better week this week. Hopefully it doesn't get completely annihilated. Number 21, Adrian Peterson. This team is going to have to rely upon the run game with Colt McCoy at quarterback, and I think they'll be able to at least have some success. Adrian Peterson's a little too good to be counted out as of right now. I like him in this matchup, and I think he can have a pretty good week. He's my number 21. Number 22, Gus Edwards. I mean, we're pretty much moving past Alex Collins. He's on this list, I think, yes. But I think Gus Edwards might just be the guy, but they're playing against the Raiders, so anybody can score. Anybody can be used and probably have a breakout game. I think just of all of them, Gus Edwards coming off a big week could have another good one. He's my number 22. Chris Carson is 23. This is a run-first team. He's looking healthy. He's looking good. He's going to be able to contribute against the Panthers, who just did not look good last week, at least against the run. Let Kerryon Johnson do whatever he wants, and then he got hurt, and then the run game pretty much stopped. Other than that, Chris Carson, he's going to split some carries. That's why it hurts him. That's why he's at like a low-end RB2. But until, the rest of the season, he should be around this range as long as he stays healthy. Number 24, Tarik Cohen in a PPR, in a half-point PPR, he is relevant. Anything other than that, guys, in a standard, please do not play him. He is just not worth owning at this point, especially if he's not getting a ton of receptions out of the backfield. Just hurts a little too much. But for those of you who have him in half-point PPR, PPR leagues, he's good. He's a good play this week. I like him against the Lions defense on Thursday night or Thursday morning. Excuse me. Dion Lewis is number 25. It's going to be rough, especially if Mariota doesn't play. But I think they'll find some decent success, at least more than Derrick Henry will find. Moving on, Duke Johnson, 26, coming off the bye week. Again, I mean, if Nick Chubb's going to have a monster week, why not with Duke Johnson? I think he is a good flex play in a PPR, non-PPR this week. Doesn't matter. He's going to be able to be efficient in the passing game, maybe find himself down in the red zone, catching a ball for a touchdown. He's my number 26. Number 27, Lamar Miller, a guy that's coming off, not a great week, but then again, the defense of the Washington Redskins, they can get after it against the run. They can really make it tough for you to really even move the ball at times. What did he do this past week? Shall we see? Okay, Lamar Miller had 20 carries, which is great, okay, but it had 86 rushing yards and then finished it off with no receptions. That's pretty good, right? They've given him an ample amount of carries to the point that we can have confidence. Okay, they're going into this game against the Titans. The Titans don't have Marcus Mariota unless he, magically is healthy all of a sudden, a.k.a. O.J. Howard, a.k.a. O.J. Howard's now on the injured reserve. Moving on. Lamar Miller could have a good week, but is it going to happen? I'm not sure. But, this past week, 8.6 fantasy points, that's okay. But he needs that touchdown. Touchdown upside is very difficult to find at times, especially when, things aren't stringing together. They play against the Tennessee Titans defense. They're pretty good against the run. So I've got him as like a RB3 fringe kind of player, especially because he doesn't get much work in the passing game. It's really hard to play him over against like Duke Johnsons of the world, because if Duke Johnson just catches 8 balls, he's pretty much more relevant than Lamar Miller. Anyway, moving on, we have Jordan Howard at 23, another guy that just doesn't catch many passes, and because of that, I can't really rank him high enough. He hasn't been playing well as of late, and he's going to continue to stay down here. That's Jordan Howard, that's 28. Number 29, Kenyan Drake. Hopefully Kenyan Drake gets some more carries. If he doesn't, well, we got Frank Gore at 36, no big deal. We're moving on, Peyton Barber at 30. Against the 49ers. If they continue to use him, which I expect them to do so, he should find some success against this defense, which give up a lot of points to the running back position. So I like Peyton Barber this week. Moving on, 31, we have LeSean McCoy. This is pretty much a shot in the dark. If you own LeSean McCoy and you're thinking, okay, he had that amazing game against the Jets in which he scored 20-plus points. He looked fantastic. Okay, well, this is a shot in the dark. If you are really, really thin because your Gurley is on bye or your Hunt is on bye, then, okay, you can maybe start him at a flex. But other than that, this is a shot in the dark. Another shot in the dark, Alex Collins. Are we going to see him get more than 7 carries? I don't think so. But there's always a possibility, especially if they are only running the ball with Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards, and him. They could just have a 3-headed monster back there just plowing the ball down the Raiders' throat. It's a possibility. Take the air out of the football, kill this game clock, and come out with a victory. Moving on, Rashaad Penny. He is going to get the second most amount of opportunities within this backfield. Mike Davis pretty much picks up all the passing work, but Rashaad Penny should be full go as the second string running back. If anything is to happen to Chris Carson, he is going to step up and fill in that spot beautifully. Number 34, Jalen Richard. Got 11 carries this past week, 60 rushing yards, about 6 yards a carry. Was still used in the passing game, had about 10 fantasy points, which he's pretty much accustomed to as of right now, 8 to 10 fantasy points in a half-point PPR scoring format. So that's why he's at an end-of-the-line kind of RB3, along with Theo Riddick, who is also in that same kind of scenario with Kerryon Johnson out. I think they're going to use Theo Riddick more. Not technically in the running game, because they still do have LeGarrette Blount in the backfield. Maybe LeGarrette Blount's a good pickup. I don't know, guys. That is actually a good point. If Kerryon Johnson's out for the rest of the season, theoretically, could LeGarrette Blount be used at a accelerated rate to the point where he can be fantasy relevant? That is a good question. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But Theo Riddick is going to be used out of the backfield, which he's accustomed to as of right now. Could get some carries. You never know. He's my number 35. And the last guy I wanted to mention is Frank Gore, the man that never slows down, even though he's 1,000 years old, continues to get a boatload of carries and touches. He's just an animal. He's had multiple 100-yard rushing games this season, multiple 100 total yards from scrimmage games, rushing and receiving combined. So he can continue to do it, and he can continue to probably be a deeper flex position play for this coming week. And that's pretty much it, people. I don't want to harp on about it for another 30 minutes. I still got another video to record. Any other names that I would consider perhaps throwing in as a flex? Royce Freeman for this coming week. Maybe LeGarrette Blount. But then again, they play against the Bears, man. That's going to be tough. I feel like Theo Riddick is the way to go. I don't think LeGarrette Blount can run against that up front 7 of the Bears. Anybody else that could potentially be of value to the fantasy people? I'm trying to look at names right now, just to like kind of get an idea. Something maybe sparks in my medulla oblongata, coach. Maybe Austin Eckler. Other than that, of the teams coming off of bye, I think I mentioned just about everybody. Maybe Royce Freeman should have been on this list. I think that's the only guy that I'm actually perhaps thinking could have been a contributor onto this list and be of service to many of us. So I'm glad I mentioned him as of late. Other than that, maybe Elijah McGuire that I've mentioned in weeks past. considering they're trying to move away from using Isaiah Crowell. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I want to thank everybody for watching. There is another video. It is probably going to pop up around me in this vicinity, probably like up there. Yeah, up there. There's going to be a video that pops up, and it's probably going to be the one for the quarterback video. So if you want to watch that, go for it. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys. If you have any questions, go down in the comment section, hit me up on Twitter, and have a nice day. See you guys.